Ever wonder what happens when engineers decide to throw caution to the wind and build motorcycles that sound like chainsaws but hit like freight trains? Today, we're counting down the 10 most terrifying two-stroke motorcycles that didn't just change the game. They burned the rulebook and left tire marks on history itself. Now, these aren't your grandfather's gentle Sunday riders. We're talking about machines that terrorized racetracks, dominated motocross, and made grown men question their life choices. Bikes so wild, so unhinged, that they literally scarred the motorcycle world forever. Stick around for number 1, because that machine didn't just unleash chaos, it redefined what fast meant and left every other manufacturer scrambling to catch up. Number 10. The Suzuki T250 Super Six, the foundation of fear. Let's kick this off with a bike that started Suzuki's reign of two-stroke terror. The T250 Super Six wasn't just a motorcycle. It was a declaration of war against boring transportation. Built from 1966 to 1972, this 247cc twin-cylinder screamer pumped out 32 horsepower. Now that might not sound like much today, but here's the kicker. That was actually 3 more horsepower than the GT250 that replaced it. Think about that for a second. Suzuki built something so good, so perfectly tuned, that customers kept chasing the older model even after the new one hit showrooms. The secret weapon? That 6-speed gearbox that made this two-stroke actually usable. While other manufacturers were still figuring out how to make their bikes rideable, Suzuki gave riders the tools to dance on the gear shifter and explore every screaming RPM. This wasn't just transportation. This was a frantic, rev-happy experience that demanded you work for every mile. But for riders willing to master the art of the gear change, the T250 delivered thrills that 4-stroke competitors just couldn't touch. The T250 cemented Suzuki's place as one of the big 4 Japanese companies that would change the industry forever. It was a foundation stone of chaos, and everything that followed built on its legacy. Number 9. The Suzuki GT350, the comfortable chaos. Now, after the T250 proved 2 strokes could work, Suzuki decided to up the ante. Enter the GT350, part of their new triple-cylinder assault on the motorcycle world. This 371cc triple cranked out around 38 horsepower, but here's what made it special. It was comfortable chaos. While other 2-strokes beat you up, the GT350 was a bike that you could actually ride all day. More room for a passenger than the Yamaha RD400, a solid engine that just refused to quit. Simple maintenance compared to the 4-strokes of the era. The GT350 struck that perfect balance between performance and practicality that made it genuinely livable. Sure, it wasn't as light and sporty as some competitors, but it was reliable, enjoyable, and built like a tank. Riders could tour on this thing, commute on it, or just enjoy weekend blasts without feeling like they've been in a boxing match. The GT350 proved that 2-stroke triples could be civilized without being boring. It was chaos that you could live with, day after day, mile after mile. Number 8. The Suzuki GT550, the middle child with attitude. Sitting between the GT350 and the legendary GT750 Water Buffalo, the GT550 was a middle child that packed serious punch. This 543cc triple delivered between 50 to 55 horsepower, making it competitive with the increasing number of middleweight 4-strokes hitting the market. But being competitive wasn't enough in the brutal world of 1970s motorcycling. The GT550 had the performance, but it couldn't capture the hearts like the smaller T500 Titan that came before it. After just 4 years, Suzuki pulled the plug. It wasn't that the bike was bad, it was just caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. But for those who rode them, the GT550 was a revelation. Triple-cylinder smoothness with 2-stroke punch. Enough power to embarrass bigger bikes, wrapped in a package that was surprisingly refined for its era. Now, the GT550 taught the industry a harsh lesson. Sometimes being good isn't enough. You need to be memorable. And in a world full of screaming 2-strokes, memorable meant being either the biggest, the fastest, or the craziest. Number 7. The Suzuki GT750 Water Buffalo, the liquid-cooled beast. Now, we're getting into legendary territory. The GT750 wasn't just big, it was the biggest 2-stroke motorcycle of its day, weighing in at a massive 507 pounds. This water-cooled 750cc triple pumped out 70 horsepower of screaming 2-stroke fury. But unlike its air-cooled competitors, the GT750 was built for touring, not just terrorizing. That water cooling made it quieter than the Kawasaki H2, better for long-distance travel, and more civilized in traffic. But don't mistake civilized for tame. This was still a 70-horsepower two-stroke triple that could get you into some serious trouble if you weren't being careful. Now, the handling was always going to be compromised on such a big machine. The suspension was soft, and what started as a gentle wallow could quickly turn into a frame-flexing nightmare. When you've got a screaming two-stroke triple between your legs and the chassis starts feeling like it's made of dough, that's when things get interesting. The GT750 proved that two strokes could be big, powerful, and surprisingly sophisticated. It was chaos wrapped in touring comfort, a contradiction that somehow worked. Number 6. The Yamaha RD350, the affordable revolution. Yamaha was late to the 350cc party. The Suzuki T250 Rebel had been out for 2 years already. But when the RD350 arrived at the end of 1972, it didn't just join the conversation, it ended it. This 347cc twin was everything a two-stroke should be: affordable, powerful, reliable, and high revving. Almost 40 horsepower and over 22 pound-feet of torque at around 7,000 RPM, all wrapped up in a package weighing just 340 pounds. Now, the RD350 offered blistering acceleration from its race-developed engine and precise handling that made other bikes feel clumsy. This wasn't just fast, it was nimble, predictable, and accessible to riders who couldn't afford exotic machinery. The success was so complete that Yamaha built an entire dynasty around it. The RD400, the water-cooled RDLC range, and eventually the legendary RD500LC, all traced their DNA back to this original 350. Now, the RD350 democratized performance. It proved that you didn't need a trust fund to experience real speed, and it gave everyday riders access to the kind of thrills that had previously been reserved for the wealthy. Now, to this day, the original air-cooled RD350 remains an icon that shook up the industry and gave real-world performance to the masses. Number 5. The Kawasaki KX500, the Unrideable monster. In 1978, rumors started spreading about an all-new Kawasaki motocross bike built to challenge for the Open Class title. By 1979, we started seeing what it could do. But it wasn't until 1983 that Kawasaki truly unleashed hell. The KX500 was described by the press as violent and unrideable. This 500cc two-stroke single produced around 65 horsepower and was considered to be at the absolute limit of usable power off-road. Weighing just 230 pounds, the power-to-weight ratio was absolutely incredible. But this wasn't just about power, it was about strength. Unlike some other big-bore dirt bikes, the KX500 had the engineering to handle its own violence. The race-developed unitrack rear suspension was part of a weight loss regime where every engineering decision was carefully considered to save weight and to increase power. This wasn't just a powerful bike, it was a precisely engineered weapon. For over 20 years, from 1983 to 2004, the KX500 dominated motocross and became the benchmark by which all other big-bore dirt bikes were judged. It was the king of the big-bore dirt bikes, and its unrivaled reputation continues to this day. The KX500 didn't just unleash chaos, it controlled it, channeled it, and used it to dominate for 2 decades. Number 4. The Honda CR250 Elsinore, the Red Rocket. While Kawasaki was building monsters, Honda was perfecting the art of reliable speed. The CR250 Elsinore launched in 1973, but it was in 1975 that the Red Rocket truly took flight. This 247.8cc two-stroke single was nimble, fast, easy to ride, and had bomb-proof reliability compared to any of its competition. Producing over 35 horsepower and weighing just 224 pounds, it set new standards for both performance and dependability. The CR250 didn't just win races. It dominated motocross for the next 5 years and only went out of production in 1983. It earned legendary status that few bikes have ever achieved. What made the CR250 special wasn't just its speed. It was the fact that it delivered that speed reliably, race after race, season after season. While competitors were breaking down, the Honda just kept running. The increasing rarity of clean examples has pushed prices beyond the reach of many riders, but the CR250 will always be remembered as one of the giants of the motocross world. It proved that chaos could be reliable, and reliability could be fast. Number 3. The Yamaha YZ490, the arm-stretching terror. In May of 1984, Yamaha unveiled the evolution of 8 years of development work. The YZ490 was the result of everything that they'd learned from the previous YZ400, and it was absolutely terrifying. This 487cc two-stroke single made around 55 horsepower, not quite as much as the KX500, but still renowned as a motorcycle that took no prisoners. Arm-stretching torque and sharp geometry made it a handful for all but the best riders. At 238 pounds, the YZ490 would clear jumps that others wouldn't dare attempt. Now, when it was in the hands of a good rider, it could devastate the opposition. But emphasis on good rider. This wasn't a bike that forgave mistakes. The YZ490's success paved the way for Yamaha's future in motocross, but it also established a reputation for being unforgiving. This was a bike that demanded respect, skill, and constant attention. Even today, mastering a full-blooded two-stroke big-bore dirt bike like the YZ490 is beyond the skill level of the average rider. Experience helps, but getting the most out of them requires some serious commitment. Number 2. The Bultaco Metralla, the Spanish smoke bomb. Here's where things get really interesting. While everyone was watching the Japanese manufacturers, Spain was quietly building something extraordinary. The Bultaco Metralla used a 32-horsepower, 247cc two-stroke engine, and the entire motorcycle weighed just 250 pounds. Now remember, most bikes from that era didn't put out 32 horsepower, and most motorcycles that did weighed significantly more. At a time when 100 miles per hour was a target for all fast production motorcycles, the Metralla could just about get there straight out of the crate. For a time, the Bultaco Metralla was recognized as the fastest two-stroke street bike in the world. One magazine described riding it as like throwing a smoke bomb into a hornet's nest, then climbing on. The skinny tires and less than prolific brakes must have made for a very exciting, if at times unnerving, ride. This was pure, unfiltered speed with minimal safety equipment, the kind of bike that separated the brave from the sensible. The Metralla proved that you didn't need to be Japanese to build world-beating two-strokes. Sometimes the best chaos comes from the most unexpected places. And number 1. The Yamaha RD500LC, the ultimate two-stroke weapon. And here it is, the bike that didn't just unleash chaos, but perfected it. The Yamaha RD500LC arrived in 1984 as a road-going version of Yamaha's Grand Prix race bike, the YZR500. This machine will always be associated with one man, Kenny Roberts. By the time the RD500LC was released, he had won 3 world titles and achieved fame that rivaled even Valentino Rossi and Giacomo Agostini. At the heart of this beast was a 500cc liquid-cooled V4 two-stroke engine, producing over 90 horsepower. Weighing just 435 pounds, it had a phenomenal power-to-weight ratio that made it one of the fastest production motorcycles of its day. Compared to the slightly more powerful Honda 1100 Magna released the same year, that 110-pound weight difference made all the difference when it came to speed. The sleek bodywork didn't hurt either. Equal parts terrifying and exciting, the RD500LC was the ultimate road-going adrenaline rush and the pinnacle of the legendary RD range. In a world of increasingly powerful, race-bred motorcycles, they weren't always the fastest, but they were consistently the best all-around package. The RD500LC was the perfect storm: Grand Prix technology, street-legal practicality, and enough power to rewrite the definition of fast. It was chaos refined, terror perfected, and the ultimate expression of what two-stroke engineering could achieve. Now, these 10 machines didn't just make noise, they made history. From Suzuki's foundational T250 to Yamaha's ultimate RD500LC, each bike pushed boundaries, broke rules, and left permanent marks on the motorcycle world. They taught us that sometimes the best engineering comes from controlled chaos, that power without weight can create some magic, and the most memorable machines are often the ones that scare you just a little bit. Now, the two-stroke era may be over, but the scars these bikes left on the world, and on the riders brave enough to twist their throttles, will never fade. Now, that glowing red thing on your screen? Yeah, that's the subscribe button. Hit it if you want more bikes that delivered maximum chaos with minimum apologies. Still got fuel in the tank? Click the next video right here and keep the adrenaline flowing.